Hi, welcome to Women's Health Podcast, where we discuss so many different subjects that affect women. So it could be to do with menopause, it could be to do with trying to get pregnant, finances, mental health, in the workplace, wherever it is. That's what all my amazing speakers are here to help you with. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I always forget to ask you to do that, and spread the word around. And if you would like a free copy of my Menopause Made Easy book, just give the link below a click and you can get the book for free. And today I'm joined by an amazing guest, Mary Keogh, and she helps women just like me going through different aspects of their life. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell us more about what she does.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Well, my name is Mary and I am from Derry in Northern Ireland. And a bit about Mary. Mary that is sitting in front of you today, Lucy, and the Mary that was maybe 5-6 years ago are oceans apart from, what was. I felt that I had faded away. I felt that, I had put myself in other people's lives, that their lives were more important, their happiness was more important, and all that they were was more important than me. And I became very lost in family life. That was the main family life. I have 4 children, all 4 adult children, and 3 grandsons. I have 2 adult sons and 2 adult daughters. Life going in early days was busy, as you know, when you have young children and your life revolves around them, and you never have a minute to even think in yourself. Some days you might even get time to wash your face because you're that busy running and making sure that they're okay. And life just went by very quickly until my sons reached, say, about 19, 20, when they hit 18, really. And what was once 2 absolutely adorable young boys who were and still are my world, got lost into the murky world of drugs and alcohol. And for me, I felt a total failure as a mother. I felt I'd let my sons down. I felt that I hadn't directed them in the proper way. And I really had nothing good to say about Mary the mammy or Mary the woman. And their addiction did get out of control. It became violent, it became aggressive, and I tried to fix them.
Were they living at home with you at that point?
They were at home at that point, and I tried to fix them. And the more I tried to fix Lucy, the worse the situation got, because, looking back now, hindsight's a great thing. I was their crutch. And you always hurt the one you love the most. So I was the verbal, physical, emotional punch bag. And I was totally lost to their addiction. I had become codependent. I had become addicted to their behaviors and patterns. I had paid people off to save my sons, as I thought, to protect them. And in the midst of that murkiness, I totally lost who I was. I really lost Mary. And the low point in my life came when my son tried to commit suicide, and he threatened to take me with him, and I was subjected to a couple of hours of torture in a car. And that day I came away and I made a promise to myself that I would detach with love from my son. Now, detaching with love meant that it wasn't that I turned my back on him. I had a massive realization that I was making the situation worse. I was enabling them. I was trying to fix them. I was their go-to place when things went wrong. So I detached with love and I allowed them to make their mistakes and do whatever they had to do. But I began to protect Mary. Now, that was not easy for me because I am a fixer. I do try and fix.
That would have been really hard to do, to stand back, especially when it comes to drugs. I know it's easy to stand back when they're going to make a mistake in a job or a girlfriend or a boyfriend, but when it comes to drugs, wow, that was incredibly brave.
It was brave, but it was very lonely. Because not alone was I letting go of my sons, but I was also letting go of Mary, the Mary that was needy, that felt that her job in life was to fix everybody, to make sure everybody in life was okay, to make everybody else a priority in my life. Everybody else mattered more than Mary. I really didn't know who Mary was. You know, I ate, slept my son's behavior. But my sons were my world. They're the blood that runs through my veins. And that doesn't mean to say that I stopped loving them. I give them the permission to become responsible for who they were, because I could not control them. I could not control their drugs or the alcohol. And the only thing I was standing in my way of any sense of becoming the woman that I had lost. I really had lost who I was. And I began a journey, and that journey was a very lonely journey, because I really didn't know where I was going or how I was going to do this. But I always remembered, Lucy, somebody saying, if you keep repeating something over and over and over again, you'll begin to believe it. And I remember days going into work and crying the whole way into the work and listening to a song, and it kept saying, it was Seek, you called it Seek. Knock and you shall find, knock and the door shall be open, seek and you shall find, you know, ask and you will receive. And another thing I kept saying to myself was, Mary, you're a strong, independent woman. Mary, you are a strong, and I didn't believe those words, because the tears were blinding me for a long time. But I don't know what it was, but I kept repeating it. And I'd done that for nearly a year and listened to that song. And somewhere in the darkest depths of my despair, because it wasn't easy, because I am a natural, it comes natural to me to make sure everybody's okay, to nurture my sons, to protect my sons, to cover them in cotton wool so that when they fall, they'll not hurt. And something happened in me. And the realization was that I had to let go and unravel the old Mary. I had to let it go. And by that, I had to go back into my past, because I was still living in my past. And I had to begin to look at who Mary was. And Mary was a very lonely, isolated, frightened, needy woman. And I didn't know who or what I was or was meant to be. And I began to unravel that. And as I began to unravel it and identify it and know it, I started saying, but that was Mary then. You can create a better Mary. And so I began to journey a journey where I started believing, even a wee tiny bit, I had a small bit of belief that I could become the best version of myself. I also picked up a saying, and I don't know where I got it. I made it up. I'm heading for the a la carte menu. I'm not eating the crumbs of other people's tables anymore. And that wasn't me being nasty or cruel. That was actually me beginning to self-care, to heal that broken adult child that I was, because I had carried behaviors and patterns and beliefs from a very young age. And that was part of my healing process. And I became the change. I broke the history. And I realized that I had to be the change within my family. I had to be the change first and foremost within myself. And I had to let go of those old behaviors, patterns, and beliefs that had created this insecure, needy, not enough woman who hated looking at herself in the mirror, who almost hated everything about her. And I began to start gently loving Mary back to life. Now, there are days I was good at it. A lot of the days I was really bad at it. And a lot of the days I went back into that place. 10 steps forward, 20 steps back. But the more I persisted and the more I kept focused on Mary, the more that my life began to flow. One of my sons found recovery. He is clean and sober 5 years. My other son.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Oh, wow.
It really is.
Good for him. I could give him a big hug now for that. Well done.
You know, it's a gift it was a gift to him, and I reaped that gift along with him because I was the change. And that doesn't mean to say that I have it all together. Yes, I get days and I'm broken and I'm lost. And those days I have to dig deep to find that Mary. My other son struggles, but that doesn't mean I don't love him any less. I love him more than anything, even in his brokenness. Um, so that journey began, and then I started to study about, the inner child, and, how the inner child, how we carry that broken inner child, be it from our behaviors, patterns, or whatever we have gathered up from a very young age, within our family, our parents, or school, or wherever it is, because, we suck it in, and that creates the person that we become. And I began to nurture love and forgive Mary for allowing this little broken child to continue to cry desperately inside of me, to be healed, to be nurtured, to be loved, to be embraced. And I did that journey. And my journey took me to different places then. I then began to help other women on that journey, because we fade away. When we get married, we begin to fade. When we have children, we begin to fade more. And it's learning to start to put the light on inside. Even if it's dim, it will get brighter and brighter. And, for a lot of women, we do lose ourselves once we have children, because our children, as they should do, become our priority. And, for me, mother is a really precious name to hold. It's a name above all names. We give life. We are the nurturer. We're the creators. We are the role models to our children as they grow. Looking back in hindsight, I tried to protect my children from the big bad world, and all I was doing was pushing my children in a direction that they wanted to see what it was. They wanted to know, why is mommy not letting us go here? Why are we not doing this? Looking back, would I do it again if I had it to do again? No, I would allow my children to make their mistakes, know their mistakes, feel their mistakes, and they would begin to build resilience, self-confidence, self-value, and self-worth, instead of mommy the fixer.
It's very funny you should say that, actually, because I have 3 kids, and it is so hard to stand back and watch them go headlong into something is just not going to be the right thing. And actually, it makes me think of a story, and I actually said this to my mom, and she was laughing at me. My mom and dad had me when they were 20, 21. So imagine, when I was about 15, my dad was about 35, 36. So really a young man. But I remember him coming into, I was putting on makeup or something in my bathroom, and I remember I had this really long mirror, and him coming in, and I remember raising my eyes to heaven, like, here comes the old man at 36.
Yeah, I know.
I laugh so hard when I think of this now. Here comes the old man. He's going to give me a lecture, and then dad telling me that he knew more about life than I did, and he knew what I was up to. And in my head, I was going, you know nothing, old man. You're just an old man. And I remember,
I know.
like, I was 15 and he was only 35, 36. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, probably a bit older, maybe 40, but he just, when I think about it, it was actually hilarious that I even thought that, because he did know more than me. But it was, I suppose, it's the skill of helping, isn't it? It's becoming a listener is what you need.
It's the process of life. And, as we go through life, and, teenagers see their parents, their old fuddy-duddies, but they know they don't know nothing. And, they believe they know it all. But that's the learning curve of life. That is life. But I sort of stopped that. I engulfed my children with cotton wool, so they bounced off it. They didn't get hurt. They were my life. They were my world, and they still are. But for me, looking back, I didn't teach them resilience. I didn't teach them to stand on their own 2 feet. They followed the crowd. the crowd didn't follow them. They seek that crowd out, and they wanted that company. And no matter what I said, you know, I used to say, that's not good company you're keeping there. What are you doing with that company? They were seeking out that company. That was the company that they wanted to be in. And, you know, we all want the best for our children. You know, that goes without saying. Sometimes our children go a bit off track and might go down a wrong road, but it doesn't mean to say that you love them any less. We have all these dreams that we want for our children, but our dreams are not our child's dream. And, you know, it was me learning. I had to step back and allow them to be and do whatever they felt as a human being they wanted to do. I was not, they were now young adults at 18, 19. I really didn't have a say because, you know, they would agree with me to my face. And the minute my back was turned, they were away doing anyway what they wanted to do. Life throws curveballs at us, and those curveballs are a lot of the time to do with our children because we want nothing but the best for our children. But we lose as parents, as a mother or mothers, we do lose ourselves very much in those years from they're born maybe up to their 15, 16. We lose ourselves totally into their, and we submerge ourselves into their lives. And then when they move on, you know, you get this empty nest syndrome. I mean, it's the loneliest place to be because what was once probably our control and our empire and all that had now fallen in around us. And that's when I knew that, you know, I had really faded away. I had lived in other people's stories for too long. And it was now up to me to take control of what I wanted for Mary. It was like taking hold of the master key of Mary again and taking all those duplicate keys that we had given so many people to turn us on and turn us off when they wanted. And it was taking ownership for who I was and where I wanted to go. You know, I laugh and say, you know, go for the designer clothes, stop shopping in the jumble sale. And by that, I mean, raise standards. I started to raise my standards for what I wanted for me, where I wanted to go, and who I wanted in my life. Like my friend group is very, very small. Years ago, I was everybody's friend. Today, it's very, very small. You know, my mother used to always have a saying, love many and trust few. And, you know, as I get older, I realize now how true that is. You know, we all feel this need to be liked. We all want to be wanted. We all want to be loved. Of course, it's lovely. But sometimes we get that need fulfilled or that love fulfilled from different places, people and things that are really not good for us. And we'll never get out of that dark hole. Am I ashamed of my past? Am I sad about my past? It has made me who I am today. I can't dismiss my past. My past has brought me to where I am today. I carry my past with me, but I don't stay in my past because it doesn't serve me. It doesn't bring nothing to me. Each day is a new chance for me to become a better version of me. And that means for me to be more compassionate, passionate, more forgiving, to love unconditionally. But those three words I must give to myself first and foremost, because I cannot give to somebody else what I can't give to myself. If I'm giving that to somebody else and I don't feel it for myself, then I am constantly living in somebody else's life and somebody else's story. And what I'm saying to Mary, me, the woman, the soul, call it what you may, you're not good enough, you don't matter. These matter more. Today, no, a la carte menu, no more crumbs at the table.
I love that. I would say first class lifestyle or steerage. Which one do you want?
Exactly, 100%. You know, it's like, you know,
it's a choice, isn't it? You can choose what way you want to go. So when you were doing the inner child work, and it's something that I'm really interested in, how far back did you have to go? Did you have to go to when you were very small, like 4 or 5, or Was there a point that you recognized in your life from a parent, or
I would have a lot of my mother's characteristics in me. She was a very loving, very caring, very giving person, and she would have always came last, and everybody else, was top of the shop. And I would have had that on me. I can remember as far back, maybe 4 or 5, wanting to be like, wanting to be part of the gang, wanting everybody to be my friend. And I carried that broken child right up into adulthood and beyond, because I always wanted to be liked. I always wanted to be part of the gang. I would have died if I had heard anybody say anything bad about me. And that told me that I was not secure in the woman that I was, that I was still living out that little 4, 5, 6-year-old.
And how did you make that transition? How did you forgive that 4 or 5-year-old or 6-year-old?
I actually did a visualization, and it was me visualizing, picking up that 4, 5, 6-year-old Mary that was sitting crying and wanted to be friends with everybody, and why weren't they asking me to play, and lifting her up and telling her that I would love her, that I would be her friend for life, that I would protect her, I would never let her down, and that I would walk with her every step of the way. And I visualized lifting that young child up and placing her in my heart and telling her, now you'll walk with me on my journey every day of your life, and you will never be alone.
Oh, that's so beautiful. It's so true, isn't it?
It's so true. Like if if we all look at our habits, behaviors, and patterns, they stand back from our childhood. Like, they say, give me the child when it's born, and I'll give you the man or woman back at 7. So who we are and what we are has really been formed around those early informative years when, we think children don't hear, don't see, or don't understand. Children are so powerful. Children are like sponges. And, we believe everything our parents or our peers say because they are our parents and our peers. And where they're coming from, they're also coming from the history before them. They're coming from a generation, and it's a generation thing that's handed on and on and on. And it takes a big person to break that cycle.
It does. It does, actually. It really is. And do you know the hardest thing, I think, is looking back at that inner child, because it brings up a lot of emotions that sometimes maybe you're not ready, or you don't want to face yet, or you're too scared to face. Actually, all of those emotions can come up. Fear, I think, is a huge one.
And yet, Lucy, if you look at the adult still has the fear, the not enough, the stress, the wanting to be liked. You really don't need to go back, because that broken child is still with us. We're still carrying it. We still want to be liked. We want to make everybody happy. We don't like loud noises. We don't like loud voices raised. We don't like anger. It has carried with us. So, that pattern behavior has now become part of our adult life. So we're still that broken adult child, because we still have those fears and insecurities, maybe in different ways and different outlets. But it has stemmed back from our upbringing and how we've carried it through.
I think what's really important to say, and it's something that I would say a lot to anyone that I help, is that if you've a parent, say like your mother showed lots of kindness and love and all her really good attributes. I think we get that. I have that from my parents, but we recognize the things we don't like about our parents, and they're the things that we don't need. So I think there's a lot of our, most of us have very good parents and we get good qualities from them. But sometimes we do pick up their bad traits.
And they've picked up those traits from their past. It's a generation thing that goes on and on and on. And, it's hard to separate, when you begin the journey and when you're left with the rawness of who you are, and you feel you're not enough, and you don't like your own company, and I hated being on my own. I hated the dark. I liked people around me, even though when I was with them, I didn't want to be with them, but I liked that idea of people being around me. Part of my healing today, I'm very happy sitting on my own, love it. Love being on my own, love that time on my own. I'm not needing somebody to be sitting with me, my children. I don't need it. Today I'm enough for me. And that's a massive step for me. It's a massive transformation for me. I lived my life with fear, with trying to please, trying to fix, trying to make sure everybody was okay. And the loneliest person in that mix was me.
How did you, why did you want lots of people around you at all times? What was that fulfilling for you?
I did not like my own company. I had a fear of being on my own. I had a fear of noises. I had a fear somebody's going to come, even the dark. I hated the dark. And that all stems back to my childhood. I did fear the dark when I was young. I was terrorized of it. Looking back, I was a very nervous, needy child. Where it came from, wanting to be wanted, wanting to be liked. And I came from a lovely family, a really good family, but there was always something in Mary that was missing. Was it that I was the fourth in the family? There was three boys before me, and then I was the girl. And I don't know. I just felt that I picked up all my mother's isms from a very young age. I became almost like a mommy style from a very young age, making sure, going back then, the man of the house was the man of the house. What he said went, what he did went. And, a woman's place then was to look after and make sure the man was okay, and it followed on to sons. And that was a habitual behavior that was carried on from generation to generation.
Yeah,
I
no,
also
so much.
I also began that in my married life, and I lived nearly 30 years of trying to please and making sure, would I do it today? Not near Nelly would I do it today. And that was a massive change for me, because at the end of the day, I owe it to me, to Mary, to make this the best life that I want to be. I came into this world unattached. I came in here on my own. I am not attached to anybody today. I am not attached. I'm not clinging. I'm not needing. I'm enough for me today. Don't get me wrong. I love company and I love being with people, but I also am very happy being on my own. And that was a journey that took a space of a couple of years. And it's a daily journey. I just don't get up and say, oh, today's going to be wonderful. Every day is a challenge. Every day is a day that I can make it a lovely story or an okay story or a Rocky Horror movie. I have that choice. Some days I might get a Rocky Horror movie. Like yesterday, my daughter's away to a wedding today and bought a beautiful dress. It was over £200. And she says, Mommy, would you steam that? Mommy steamed it, but Mommy also burnt it.
Whoops.
So that panic came automatically back to me. And I thought, oh my God, oh my God. And for about 2 hours, I was really panicked because there's no shops. The wedding, she's gone to the wedding. I tried to fix it as best I could. And I had to say, it's done. It is what it is. It wasn't done intentionally. But for that minute, that panic and that fear came into me. And then a while later, I say, but it wasn't done intentionally. It was a genuine accident. It is what it is. I can't change it. I can't make the dress be perfect. But she put it on. I says, Rosa, just focus in the front of the dress. Don't even focus what's going on in the back. And then the godsend was it was at the back, at the bottom of the dress. And that's how she went today. But that's life. Life throws us curveballs, Lucy. Life throws us things that we have to work through. We can make it good days, okay days, or really bad days. We have that choice. And the choice that we have also is, whose life do we follow? Whose life is more important than mine? My life is my paramount passion now. And by that, I mean, when I focus on me, everything else begins to flow. It flows a lot more freely because I'm not entering into I'm not picking up somebody else's pen and writing their story. It's not my job.
No, it's true. And it's true, actually. You made me think that with it just reminds me of a patient that I had, and he was saying to me, well, a coaching client, and he was saying that he has this constant going on in his head, like whirling in his head the whole time, and it's going to be there forever, and he thinks it's bad thoughts, going to be there forever, and then he's going to die. So I just, it's a bit like what you said, is changing that movie script. I said, what, like, you're the hero of the story. Why all heroes don't die? No. And he was just like, what?
That's so true. We hand that pen over to so many people, and we give them that permission to write our story. I did it most of my life because I thought that's what I'm supposed to do. I hold that pen now today, and I choose very carefully who's going to be in the chapters or the stories of my life. Who am I inviting in? Who am I inviting in to create the day that I am going to have? Days I might invite the devil from hell in, but that's okay. That's life. But it's understanding and realizing that I don't have to stay in that story. People come into our lives. They're only meant to come in for chapters. They're not meant to stay there for the rest of the book.
That's true. It's so true. But it's really interesting, going back to what you were saying at the beginning, like you enabling the behavior of your sons. You were dependent on their behavior as much as they were dependent on yours. Yeah. That was a huge breakthrough when you noticed, or when you came to the realization that it was like a vicious cycle, really.
It's just a circle. It was a merry-go-round out of control. And my sons would tell me one thing, and I would believe, because they were my sons, they wouldn't lie to me. I would believe everything they were saying to me. And yet it was a different story when they went out that door and closed it. They'd done what they wanted. I remember so many sleepless nights, pacing my floors, wondering where my sons were. They weren't answering their phones. I remember out looking for them. I took my sons to every help group. I paid for them to see counselors. Nothing was helping because my sons were not ready to let go of that lifestyle. And the only person that was drowning was me. I was totally drowning. I was totally separated from who I truly should be. And it was allowing myself to slowly step back in to the woman that I should always have been. And I know there's a lot of drugs and addiction out there, and I know people really, really struggle. I feel their pain. I know their pain. But all I can say is you can never fix an addict. You can never make them see another way. Never. They have to see it themselves.
It's I've not, luckily, touch wood, I haven't had to experience that, but my goodness, you're right. I know about it. I know friends, children have gone through this, but thank God, not me. I hope it stays that way nowadays. But it's scary. I mean, I think drugs are really scary because you don't know what's in them to start with. And I remember growing up, like, you didn't take drugs because you died from them. And I remember that's the message that my parents gave me. You took drugs, you died. If you took one sniff of it or anything, you died. But then growing up, I realized that people didn't die taking drugs. They didn't. They had fun. And I never took drugs ever in my whole life. And I remember when I was older, in my late 30s actually, and I'd never taken them, and I was out one night and having a conversation with another man, and he said, I take drugs every weekend, and he said, I've got some here, why don't you try them? And I just remember how easy that was for me.
So easy.
Just to say yes. I was like, geez, I can't take drugs, I've got kids at home, imagine what me. But it was really, it could have been, I could have gone one, sliding door moment, and I could have gone one way or the other.
And it's also because you were strong in your mindset and you were aware of what you picture somebody that's really struggling with life and really struggling with family, and everything seems to be closing in on them. And somebody says, here, sure, I take these at the weekend, and they're seeing everybody happy and best of friends, and they start taking it. And what was once with their best friend, ends up becoming their worst enemy.
Yeah.
Because the drug dictates what they should do. The drugs take over their lives. The drugs are their enemy, but they cannot let that enemy go.
Yeah. I know, actually, there was I think last week or the week before on the radio, they were on about cocaine, that young girls, young women, the amount of cocaine that they take out on a night out. And I think do you get a little removed from it as you get older, or is it because I'm not in that environment? I'm not sure, but I'm sure, again, it's a choice. It's my choice, I think.
Well, for me, I work with a lot of young men and women that have addictions. It is rife.
Yeah.
It is rife in our society. And there's a story behind that. That's their go-to place. That's where they want to fit in. They want to be part of the gang. So that story behind them is they're insecure, they're needy, they don't feel they're enough even for themselves. So they feel they need this. And, they'll tell me, it feels great. I feel good when I take it. I feel on top of the world. And then there's a massive come down. And that come down, it's really, and that come down can almost leave a lot of our young people suicidal.
It's very interesting, actually, you saying that, because the guy that was describing it on the radio, he was saying how bad it was to take, it was cocaine, how bad it was to take cocaine, and it destroys lives, and it's destroyed his life. But I can't remember what radio show it was on, and he goes, I think it was on News Talk, he goes, but you it says here you're still taking them. He goes, yeah, I can't find a way to get away from them. I'm not taking them like I used to, but I still can't get away from them. He said I could go months and suddenly I'm back there again.
Yeah. And that's a fact. And it's the environment as well that you choose to be part of. If that environment is an environment where drugs and alcohol are very accessible and you can get it very easy, then you'll seek out that. You will seek out that company. It has become, in a sick sort of way, very normal.
It has, yeah. It has.
Very normal. And the damage that it is doing to our young men and women, because it's just not drugs, it's drugs and alcohol. They just don't take drugs. There's usually alcohol involved as well in a night out. And our young people go out, they go out with the whole thing, way to get high, to get stoned, to get blocked, whatever they may call it. That is their purpose in going out that night, to consume as much as they can. So they are removed from reality. They're living in this fantasy, life's wonderful, they're floating. But the cold reality is, when they come from that come down of that binging weekend, where a lot of it is binging weekend, they're suicidal. They struggle with who they are. Their thoughts are very, very dark. And, it's learning young people to step back again. The adult broken child, let's step back. Where is the need in you that you feel this need to remove yourself from reality every weekend? What's the drive? What is it you're getting off it? Because come Monday morning, you're in that place where life isn't worth living. You have dark thoughts. You're struggling even to get up for work. So there's so much of it. When we look at it in the cold light of day, there's a story behind our young people. There's a story that needs to be addressed. Apart from the drugs and alcohol, the story needs to be addressed, understood. And then there may be some kind of opening, but there is an epidemic of it, an absolute epidemic of it in our country.
I think, yeah, I completely agree with you. I really do. Yeah, everywhere you go,
yeah.
And you are right. I understand why you would try and protect your kids the best you could. I do understand that, because I have two adult children in their 20s, and it is my fear. But I can't wrap them in cotton wool, because you have to let them work it out yourself. All you can hope is that you've given them enough information as young children, and enough strength within them, that they know they are resilient and can get through lots of different situations.
And I was that mommy. I was that mommy that spoke openly about drugs, alcohol, mental health. I was so open because of the fact I'll educate them. Doesn't matter how much I educated them, Lucy.
Just depends on their friends group,
yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah.
It really does come down to that.
And it's just so acceptable nowadays. And you're almost seen as an oddball now if you don't take alcohol or you don't take drugs. You are seen as odd. It's really sad.
It is sad, actually. And I know that with my son, when he first started going out and drinking, he didn't like alcohol. He didn't like the taste of it. And I actually remember the first time I went out partying one night, and I wasn't meant to be at a party, and my dad came and dragged me out of the party. But I remember thinking I was really cool, asking for vodka and tonic. And I remember sitting there and I remember going, oh my God, I remember disgusting. I hated the taste of it. Didn't like the taste of it at all.
They force it under them. And I would say 99% of them does not like the taste of it at the start, but they force it on because they want to get this feeling that takes them out of reality.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
no, I agree.
It's really sad, that society is so consumed by the outside environment and all that it holds, be it you see our young woman, hair extensions, Botox, these sleeves, breast reduction or breast making them bigger or whatever enhancement. They're always chasing something artificial, that is only temporary. It's temporary. And then when that's done, they're looking for the next high. What next? Instead of, teaching our young people, have resilience, discipline, focus, values, self-respect, self-love, self-worth. Instead, it's all this outside environment that is so toxic at times that, our young people are feeding under.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. They are, and they want to fit in, and they're fitting in and being friends and everyone liking you. Yeah,
100%. And our young women, if you see one, you see a dozen. Their makeup's to perfection, their extensions are in, their hair's at perfection, their dress, they're almost like replicas of each other.
Clones.
And they have no individuality because they don't want to stand out. They don't want to be different.
I just had this story, and then we'll get your details on how people can contact you. But I remember my children growing up were very much into horses and stuff, so the weekends were taken up competing, and we'd be up really early in the morning, 3 and 4 in the morning. Craziness, driving off to a horse show. But we'd all be together, Hannah and James, Amber as well. She was a little baby at the time, and Hannah went on holidays with her friends from college to Thailand, and they were chatting about their childhoods, and they couldn't believe that Hannah never really went out on Friday and Saturday nights because it was getting ready for the show and then the competition. Getting ready for the competition on the Saturday and then competition on the Sunday. And she said, I didn't really, no, it was her choice. It wasn't, I didn't force this on them. I was just the driver and the whatever.
Being mommy.
Yeah, being mummy. And we'd go off and we'd have a great day out and come back. But they talked about their childhoods of drinking, discos, having sex, drugs at 15 and 16 years old. And they couldn't believe that Hannah didn't really do this. Now, she still go to discos, don't get me wrong, and still did stuff. But she said they were talking and they were like, oh my goodness, Hannah, we wished we had your childhood because we felt that we did it all too young. It was all done too soon. Now, I'm not saying what I did with them was, horses are in my blood. I think I was born on a horse, so it just was naturally what I did with my children. But I remember her saying that, and they were like, yeah. So is it like hobbies and different things to keep the mind, like something that you're passionate about, to keep that interest there? Because often I know another friend of mine, he plays rugby, and he was saying that's the biggest problem when children, male or female, get to that age, 14, 15, 16, that they drop out of those sports because of drinking, and they can't be bothered to get up, or because of, you know, whatever it is, they just disappear from it.
And that is so true, you know, and our children are growing up too quickly. You know, our children don't know what it's like really now to play with dolls or cars. It's phones, you know, everything's electronics, and you know, they don't know what it's very seldom you would see a group of children now playing out in the street and having fun and doing all those childlike things. You know, our children are becoming, you know, advanced beyond their years far too quick. And, you know, their childhood is being lost because we get them the latest. And I have been guilty. There's no point in me lying. They're getting the latest gadgets, the latest sports gear, the latest whatever's going. And, you know, our young children, you know, you don't see them in pretty dresses anymore. You don't, you know, and, you know, we're pushing our children to grow up too fast. And then by the time they reach 20 something, they're tired of this life. They're tired of it because they have done it all. There's nothing new or exciting that they have done it. So, you know, and then they start to morph into each other.
There's no individuality.
No, there's not at all. And, you know, someday, somewhere, it probably will all go back to basics again.
I hope it does.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I hope it does.
Mary, you've been an amazing guest, and I'm really happy to hear that your sons are doing well. You know, one is doing fantastic and one is on his journey. And he will be still continuing to be fantastic, and that you found you again, you know, that's so important. And yes, I would advocate to lots of
and any woman out there that, you know, feels they can't go on, believe you me, you can, because I have a motto: I can and I will. No matter what comes your way, keep pushing and pushing through it and pushing through it, because we do not realize the power that lies within each and every one of us.
That is so true. That is true. We're more powerful and resilient than we give ourselves credit for.
100%. 100%.
And it comes as well from support from your
woman to woman. I really believe there's nothing great than woman empowerment, that women empower each other, be it through stories, be it through events, be it through whatever, Lucy. But I really believe that women really find their empowerment when there's a group of them together. I really do.
I really agree. So if anyone wants to get hold of you to talk about any of these topics that we talked about, you know, inner child work or helping with drug addiction, or, you know, for themselves or even for a member of their family, how can they get with you?
They can contact me on Instagram, Mary Keogh _ or Facebook, Mary Keogh.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Lucy.
Thank you so much. And take care, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and pass around the message to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.